right, everybody ready? The City of Glendale Plan Commission is now in session. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Kennedy,
Here.
Commissioner Nelson,
Here.
Commissioner Sean Story,
Here.
Commissioner Cohn,
Here.
Alderman Bailey is excused, Commissioner Atwood,
Here.
Commissioner Tracy Story, and Commissioner Seligman.
Here.
All right, we had the minutes from our meeting held on October 4th that were distributed with the agenda and packet. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes, please?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Nelson,
Seconded.
seconded by Commissioner Sean Story. Any corrections to the minutes? Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes for our last meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. We have two items for consideration under new business. First is a business use approval from Brown's Living LLC to operate an administrative office at 6165 North Green Bay Avenue. I will turn it over to staff first for recommendation, and then we will hear from folks representing Brown's Living. Mr. Fellows.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Brown's Living has applied for occupancy permit and a business use approval to occupy the property at 6165 North Green Bay Avenue for administrative offices for their facilities here in Milwaukee and throughout the Wisconsin area. They've provided a plan of operation, which is detailed in the report in terms of number of occupants and hours of operation, those types of things. And they provided a small little floor plan that indicates sort of how they're going to be using the building for offices and those types of things on the first and second floor. The applicant is here and they probably can share a little bit more about their business in detail.
This was a law firm before, correct? Or accounting firm?
I believe so, correct.
Okay. I'm seeing a nod from the gentleman from Brown's Living. If you'd like to come up to the table, please. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Glendale. If you could just tell us your name and then tell us about the proposed use here of this particular site.
Good evening, everybody. My name is.
You'll need to, it's a directional mic, so you'll need to talk directly into it. If you get even a little bit off to the side, it cuts off and the people on the Zoom can't hear you.
Apologies.
No problem. It's a learning experience for all of us, and we've been up here for months, so.
My name is Nick Schubert. I'm the facilities director for Brown's Living. I guess I kind of do all the maintenance work, make sure the buildings, permits, all that other kind of fun stuff is good. Brown's Living is kind of a statewide, possibly regional wide. We do kind of a group family assisted living. We do kind of guidance work, stuff like that. It could range anywhere from, traumatic brain injuries, things like that. That's a lot of our clientele and residents that we have. The Glendale office specifically is more of our administrative office. That's where our COO works out of, business planning meetings, gatherings, things of that nature.
Thank you. Would there be any of your residents that would have a reason to come into the office?
Absolutely none.
Okay. We've had a few issues in the past with some of the CBRFs in the City of Glendale
Understood.
being left unattended, people getting out, knocking on neighbors' doors, things of that nature. So I know you've closed down at least one or two of them that were in Glendale prior.
Correct. One of them.
This is just office, and there wouldn't be any residents that would have any reason to come into the office.
Correct. No, it would just purely be our COO, our I guess you would call them kind of our health and services administrative staff, and then possibly staff for other training services. That'd be it.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to members of the commission. Are there any other questions from members of the commission? Commissioner Nelson?
Is this a relocation or an expansion?
This is more of a expansion, I suppose you would say. A lot of our corporate offices in Marshfield, Wisconsin. We've kind of started branching down into the southeastern region, Sheboygan Falls, Milwaukee. So we're kind of moving a little bit more of the administration from way up north to a little bit south.
Any other questions from members of the commission? Commissioner Cohn, go ahead.
John, is this the scope of the landscape project to be done by June?
Sure. So as I looked at this property when the application came in, I can go back in old photographs and records and there was much more robust landscaping at the front of the property. I think the previous tenant kind of let it go downhill. And so with this business use approval, it's an opportunity to get that landscaping back up to a city standard. I did let the applicant know that they emailed me this landscaping plan that's in paper. I didn't get it into a PDF form for the screen, but they did provide that to us late today. I would still suggest that your recommendation be conditioned upon the landscaping being worked out with staff. The plan in front of you has a boxwood hedge on the perimeter of the landscaping, and boxwood can get quite thick and can be tall. But then right behind it, there's some sedum and daylilies, which only get to be a foot to foot and a half. So you're not actually going to see those plants. So I think a little bit of more discussion about what plants they're planning and their heights and things like that might be best between staff and their staff, and we can get a good plan that can be put together and then installed in the spring.
Which is
of
when the
next year.
dentist office that's locating next door will be doing their landscaping. So we're going to see a lot
Probably.
of improvement
Yes.
on that whole corner there. So,
Correct. Yep.
yeah. Yeah, because Green 7 was sold to a dental clinic.
Correct.
Yep.
So you should see them sometime soon. I think.
Yep. Okay, any other questions from members of the commission? Yeah, Commissioner Seligman?
Yeah, thank you. Since I had not seen the photocopy, it shows a sign. Does that mean that we will procedurally, this is a procedural question, we'll get a separate matter of business with the details about the sign?
Actually, the sign is already, it replaced an existing sign and it is already, you can actually see it on the Google map in front of you.
That's the new sign?
That is the new sign.
They replaced almost the exact same, they literally replaced this little panel right there.
I see.
And
Thank-
yeah, it's the same structure to just replace the panel. And we have permits for it.
They're not asking for any new signage or any different kind of signage. So permits were all were needed and that could be handled at the staff level.
Thank you. I'm
Previous-
always learning about the process here.
Yep.
And previously on record, it is too close to the property line, but there was a special exception or variance granted a number of years ago, which stays with the property. So as long as they keep replacing it in the same spot, they're good from that perspective.
Any other questions, from members of the commission? Oh, Commissioner Atwood.
Forgive my ignorance here, but is that driveway on the left side of what we see in the screenshot there? Is that within even the jurisdiction of the planning commission to wonder if that's needs to be repaved? Is that part of this or is that out of scope?
It does fall under the jurisdiction of the plan commission. I guess I'll just turn it, I would direct the question to staff as to whether or not that was discussed at all or.
It has not been discussed. They have not proposed any improvements to the driveway or proposed anything.
Does it rise to the level of a property maintenance concern for staff?
The asphalt probably from this photo, it might need to be sealed. I don't think it's probably, I mean, it's been patched a few times. There's a pothole sort of right there. But I don't think it probably it. I'll leave it all up to you. I don't think it would be a property maintenance. If someone put a property maintenance complaint in, I don't think it would rise to the level of property maintenance that it's deteriorating. I think usually that happens when you're chunks of asphalt you can pick up. So it might be getting close to that point though, that if they don't seal it in a few years, it will probably deteriorate.
I was just researching this for my own driveway, which is in better shape than this, no offense.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do it in June. And I'm totally, I don't even know what I'm doing in asking this, but if it were me, I would prioritize it. That's why I'm just bringing it up. I don't know if makes sense for me to even be demanding this if you're like, what is this guy doing? But I would prioritize this. I mean, if you're going to talk about the landscaping, and if that's like a city standard, this seems to be part of the equation to me.
Do you know if there are plans to do additional improvements on the property within the next year or two?
The plans were this spring, just because we pretty much just kind of moved in there within this year, was to seal it. And then there was a very small, I guess you'd call it parking space out back. That's about 4 spaces. That was also going to be sealed and painted.
With lines for cars.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
All right. So that is a part of a future plan. All right.
Correct.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? All right. We do have a recommendation from staff that we grant business use approval for Brown's Living LLC to occupy the space at 6165 North Green Bay. And I would add subject to an approved landscape plan worked out with staff. So can I get a motion to that effect, please? Moved by Commissioner Cohn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atwood. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And the second item, which is the one I would have expected bigger crowds here for, because there were a bunch of people here when Nicolay was here last time with the first part of your plan. And this, yeah, there were about a handful of people in the audience last time. So, and actually several people online even the last meeting. So, so Nicolay is back now with the next phase in their, I guess, how they're spending the referendums. I'll turn it over to staff first and then representatives from Nicolay.
Thank you, Mayor. This particular project, this is part 2 of the Nicolay project. Last month, you saw the athletic facilities, which included soccer, football, tennis, those types of things. And we promised you'd be back this month with the actual building modifications. So this evening, Epstein Ewan and Nicolay will present to you the various additions to the building, some landscaping, as well as the concession stand. And not sure what they're calling it, but I'll call it a gateway to the athletic facility. And I'll turn it over to them to present. And if you just want to say next, I'll flip the slide.
Hi, Dr. Kabara, Superintendent, and I'm here with the EUA. Mike Schwindenhammer is our lead designer on the project. McLean is also here, and Kurt, our owner's rep. So if we have additional questions, they're available. Again, this is the building project. We've done the athletic components. Looking at this as well, we've done a nice job, I think, of having the architects match the new constructions to the existing to carry some of the themes of color and patterns through the new building. And you also see the ticket, we're calling it a ticket kiosk. Now that all high schools in the North Shore Conference have paperless ticket, actually outdated at this point. So it's a ticket kiosk. It's a little bit smaller structure, and then also our concession stand and tennis center. So I'll turn it over to Mike Schwindenhammer and he'll walk you through the plans.
All right.
Hello, everybody. Mike Schwindenhammer, Senior Design Architect with EUA. Thanks for the opportunity to come here and speak with you tonight. First thing we want to look at here, this is the site plan. I think you saw it last time with the athletics. What we're showing here is the north is to the right. In the southeast corner, we have the 4,000 square, the orange that you see there, lower left of your screen is the 4,000 square foot music addition. The other, if you go a little bit more to the right, the next orange you see is the Innovation Arts addition. That's approximately a 6,000 square foot addition. So that's going to be your tech ed department. As John mentioned there, and Greg mentioned, there's a small orange dot there just below the football stadium. That's the new gateway, the ticketless ticket booth, I guess. And then up by the tennis courts, that's the new concession stands for both the home fans for the football stadium and then also for the ticket or for the tennis courts. The next slide.
I've got a question. I noticed that you have the existing concessions building remaining. Is that going to be repurposed?
Yes, it's going to be used for the visitors. So the visitors will be on that side. They'll be able to use the restrooms and the ticket booth, or sorry, the concessions on that side. And then home fans will use the new restrooms and concessions north of the stadium.
Are there bleachers on both sides of the football stadium?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there will be, yes.
Okay. Got it.
Anything else? So the first slide image we're looking at here, this is the existing entry, main entry to the school. Right now, we're showing it staying as it is, but we're doing a little bit of a refresh with a little bit of new metal panel for the fascia. If you remember, there's some light blue metal panel and some old signage. We're going to update that a little bit, give it a little bit of a refresh to match what's happening on the inside of the building. Next slide. This is in the southeast corner of the building. This is the majority of this is the existing performing arts wing. In the left side of the building, of the image there, you'll see a box with some horizontal lines and vertical. That's the new addition itself. As you can see, we're trying to match a lot of the forms and the brick that's happening with the existing building. I'm going to show this brick here, the first Belden brick. This is a match for the existing brick. And then where you see those horizontal lines on the addition, we have another brick that's the same color, but it's a smooth brick. And that's just, that brick will be recessed about 3/8 of an inch. It'll be a smooth brick, just to give it a little bit of architectural detail. It's a bigger volume, so we wanted to make sure to break it up a little bit in scale. Next slide.
What is the purpose of the new addition in the
Oh, I'm
arts
sorry.
area?
Yeah, it's a new band room.
Okay.
So there'll be a band room, some practice rooms, and a recording studio within the space. That's the reason for the higher volume to that space. The existing band room just doesn't meet with the proper requirements for a band space. Obviously, when you're looking at a band room, you have to look at both the width and length of the building or the space, but also the height of it. Yes, exactly.
The current performing arts includes a band room and a choir orchestra room that's shared with 3 performing arts groups. We're adding a 3rd room for performing, so they don't have a set up and take down of equipment, and also then making a room that is designed for band.
Yes, exactly.
Are you making any improvements in the auditorium as well? Because I know that some of the lights and I had 3 kids go through there, 2 of them involved with theater. And I know that the lights and some of the rigging and things were definitely aging.
Yes, there are improvements to that, to the auditorium. I'm trying to remember exactly how much of the electrical. Kurt or McLean, you might know the scope. We're redoing lighting on, but we're not redoing the finishes and doing a full refresh of the auditorium.
I will say that the fly system has been completely redone within budget, of the district budget. So that's been redone within the last 6 years. Total, we phased it in over the course of 6 years. So the
Okay.
fly system's completely new.
Okay.
And then we are adding a scene shop in that orange building scene shop in addition to what's there now.
Yeah, so the performing arts, not seeing it as part of the addition from the outside, but there's renovations, as mentioned, scene shop getting bigger, lower E level, the dressing rooms being improved, going from a boys and a girls to individual change of improvement.
Thank you.
And the next view that we're showing is just the south view of the Performing Arts Edition.
This is from Daphne?
Yes,
Okay.
so you have a couple emergency exits, egress doors there, and then also access to service for water service. And then there's a couple windows on that side. Again, like I said, it's a fairly simple addition, putting a little bit of architectural detail. Want to try to match the existing, but also not do something too out there, considering the residents that are right across the street from them.
I do have a question. In that particular wing, there aren't a lot of windows and you're only putting in a couple and they seem to be really high. Is that a security concern? Why are there just, I guess, not more windows in that area?
Yeah, it is sound and it's also the way the room is set up. You're also getting the students to focus on the teacher in that space. A lot of times when we do band rooms, band, orchestra, and choir, we do the windows higher up.
Okay. That's kind of a pattern at a lot of schools. Okay.
Correct.
Just the acoustical paneling around the inside of the room for sound resonance and sound control requires the windows to be that much higher for band design. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
And then in the northeast corner of the building, we're doing a new Innovation Arts Edition. This is the tech ed portion of the building. If you see to the south is the lower section, this is going to be a new graphics classroom and lab. You can look, we're bumping up the height of it because of the need for the learning space. The old classrooms are a little bit low. We're bumping the height up here, but we're keeping, again, the same brick to match the existing, using similar storefront yeah, just clear anodized aluminum storefront to match existing, give it a similar pattern. Also doing a spandrel glass above it to help match the existing well, sorry, I don't want to use the word match, but tie into it. And then if we go to the next slide. Yep.
So is that this stuff that we're seeing in the, what looks like windows, or those actual windows?
So the lower portion, actually, Greg, that's one more. So the lower portion below that sunshade is vision glass. And then above that is a spandrel glass. And that's on the left portion of the building. On the right portion where you're seeing the blue frame, the bottom portion of that is a vision glass. And then above that is this translucent glass. So the idea with that is what they're doing in that space, it requires a tall volume for the robotics field that they're
Sure.
going to have. But there's not that much happening up there all the time. So to give a large window and put it on display for nothing, for not as much happening up there,
They're
that
letting
wasn't-
in the natural light, but not necessarily
Exactly.
vision. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that will help cut down on solar heat gain, but still bring in that natural light into the space.
Okay. And the height here is because of the big equipment.
Exactly. And yeah, the robotics, the equipment and the robotics competitions that they want to do in there requires a minimum of 18 feet, more of an ideal 20 feet clear. And so we're going with a 20-foot clear.
I was part of robotics for many years.
Oh, okay, great.
They launch things, you know, so, yes.
Yes, exactly. They have more fun than I had.
Yeah.
If we look at the next slide. Oops, sorry. I'm sorry. If we go, yeah, this slide's good here. Yes.
Okay.
So this, what we're showing here is the metal panel on the robotics field edition. This silver is the majority of the field. It's going to be approximately a 12-inch single skin metal panel. That's flush panel, so the joints are fairly seamless between the 12, but every once in a while you can see a darker line. That's where we're going to use a reveal panel. So just add a little bit more character to the building. And then the other thing that you're seeing in this view, the dark blue metal panel that's going to be used to frame out the large windows. Beneath the metal, we didn't want to bring the metal panel all the way to the grade there. So we are using a cast stone. And that matches some other stone that's cast stone that's on the building. Any questions on the Innovation Arts Wing? Okay. The next slide is the ticket booth that we talked about. Like we said, they're ticketless now. There's not a need to have a small building there. So what we're showing here is there's an overhead coil door here. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that when that overhead coil door goes up, there's some casework down below for a little bit of storage for like people that are working there that are scanning the tickets to go and put their backpacks in there. But there'll be a couple iPads. Majority of the people coming through there, whether home or away, will be using their phone just to get scanning and go into the game. But for those people who, for whatever reason, aren't able to do that, there'll be a couple iPads there for ticket sales. In doing this, we still wanted to create this gateway into the athletics complex. So we're creating this, it's a steel canopy with a little bit of signage at the top. And the next slide, like we mentioned, north of the stadium, there'd be home concessions and restrooms. On the left side, you can see there's the concession window, and then there's men's and women's restrooms, and then also a single user or family restroom. And if we look at the north side of the next slide, this will be in the northwest corner of this building on the right side that you're seeing here. There's a small tennis room. This is so that the team can go in there before or after matches, but then also if there's a rain delay or something like that, they can go in there. So this project will be a burnished block burnished block is what you're seeing on the left side, and then a painted CMU block on the right, and then metal panel for the canopy. Any questions on anything you've seen?
Is, is the scale of this building, like this team place for the tennis teams, is that on the level where like other universities may choose to like rent and utilize this space and generate income?
I was gonna say, Greg's had more of these conversations.
Just wondering, yeah, just wondering if that's been prioritized.
Nicolay does have an agreement with MSOE to share space. So.
We do. We have an MSOE shared agreement as part of the Maslowski Field project, and they do use this as their varsity home tennis courts as well. They compete here. So this would be on par with that. We've also worked with the Milwaukee Tennis Classic, which hosts regional and international tournaments. And part of that is a venue would be one of two venues in the state of Wisconsin with 14 hard courts in a single location. With this tennis center, there's opportunities to bring collegiate level, both national and international players to Glendale for hotels, restaurants, and then a weekend tournament. This gives us that opportunity to host those types of events and help our community.
So even like D1 tournaments and.
Yep, this would
yeah.
qualify. We've actually approached Marquette. Right now, they don't have an interest. Their Big East tournament is held in the south where there's a little bit warmer weather typically. But UWM, Division I type schools would be interested in competing here. Again, you could run a large tournament draw with 14 courts and a tennis center like this. You could run a fairly large scale tournament very efficiently on the site. So.
Seligman?
I just have a couple of questions about the signs that say Knights Tennis and Knights Concessions in particular. This may seem very pedantic, but first of all, reading Knights Concessions, I'm like, oh, Knights Surrenders, because concessions has a double meaning. And then the pedantic part of it, I also wondered, shouldn't there be an apostrophe there?
Right, so this was, someone designed this and put some placeholders in for signage, just so we would get an idea
this
of
is-
what it looked like. This, the signage is still to be determined.
This is not the actual sign.
Correct. So this was just an idea for our planning and core team to get an understanding of what type of signage could look like on that type of building. It's
So
just,
this is in contrast to the entrance to the building, which you have a new design for saying Nicolay.
the building, right, again, those are all, have we determined all of the signage at this point? I think it's just placeholders at this point.
Yeah, for the most part, just placeholders with those. The Knights tennis, the even the entry to the football stadium, there still needs to be a little bit of an internal branding discussion about what exactly they want that to say. It was more of a placeholder of this is where we want the signage to be and approximately what it would look like.
Okay. Hold my comment. Apostrophe.
I do appreciate though the input from an academic editor, so.
It would
Yeah.
bother me for a very long time, but I'm also not going to a football game, so I'm not going to see it later.
Commissioner Cohn?
I have a question on your entrance, it says Nicolay. On one of your new buildings, it says Nicolay, back up, right there, Unified High School,
Union High School.
Union High School. Is there a reason why you added the Union High School? Everything else is Nicolay. Why did you add the Union?
That's a good question for Mike. No, actually, again, Nicolay Union High School is the legal name that Nicolay was submitted under Department of Public Instruction when the school was started. And so Nicolay Union High School is the actual name of the school, the legal name. We ran into some components. We were doing some legal work, and we've been trying to get back to that consistent branding of Nicolay Union High School. It was Nicolay Union High School. It then became Nicolay High School. Then it just became Nicolay. So over the course of years, the branding, really an identity crisis for our school, is that everybody called it something different. So I think Mike was picking up on our referendum work where we used Nicolay Union High School as the legal name for our legal documents. So Mike probably picked up on that and put that on the building itself. I guess, again, back to the branding, I don't know that we've settled on the exact signage, but the legal name is Nicolay Union High School. That's where that comes from. I think Mike, again, was placeholding at the front entry with Nicolay.
In your main entrance, then it says Nicolay. Would you add this underneath it? Right there, Union High School?
And that would be part of our overall signage package discussion.
Okay. Was that come back to us as a commission?
So the actual wording would not, that would just be worked out with staff when they go to get their permits. That's their own branding. We're approving the placement and the number of signs. That's under the purview. Yeah.
Wanted it to come back, you could. I mean, yeah, that could be a condition, but typically we don't do that. So. And
Commissioner Seligman, like.
I could always consult with one commissioner and make sure that the language is correct prior
She
to
wants
issuing
that
a permit.
apostrophe.
I'm going to come in with an apostrophe carved into my forehead.
Lucky you.
Apostrophes are expensive.
Union High School, by the way, under the Department of Public Instruction is if you have separate K-8 districts that feed into a high school that services multiple K-8 districts, they are considered a union high school. So there's one in Racine County, there's one in Waukesha County. Yeah, but regionally, there's Arrowhead, there's is it Union Grove in,
Union Grove, you have
Okay.
one down in Bigfoot you have one up north.
I mean, just regionally though, the closest ones are,
Arrowhead and Hartford are the two closest.
yeah,
Arrowhead and
Hartford's another one, yep. Well. All right, any other questions? Okay, we'll let you keep going and then we can come back for more questions, so.
That was the end of the.
Oh, it was, okay.
Show. So we're open to any questions that you might have.
Okay, Commissioner Seligman, go ahead.
I have two questions, please. If you could go back to that early slide of the performing arts wing. I honestly did not understand what you were saying about the horizontal lines in the bricks, so I just need a review there. So are those, I see two close together bands and then two farther away bands?
So the two that are close together towards those are just a course of brick.
I'm sorry, those are the ones that are far away from each other. What is he?
Am I pointing to the right spot? These two?
Yes, okay, so.
This one.
Above the window?
So the ones above the windows, sorry, I see what you're saying about far apart. So that's what's called a soldier course. So it's just a brick turned on the side going across.
That's the same texture as the rest of the wall.
No, that'll be the smooth brick. So anywhere that you see those, the lines of, the two lines above the windows, that represents a soldier course of brick. So it'll be a single brick height going all the way across, and it'll be the smooth brick as opposed to the other textured brick.
Textured brick is most of the wall?
Yes.
And what's happening below the window?
So below the windows, then there are two courses. In each of those is just a single course of brick. That's the smooth brick that's recessed about 3/8 of an inch.
So it's the same brick used two different
Yes,
above and below.
yes.
I have a separate question.
You got the floor.
Thank you. Dr. Kabara, I corresponded with you about this question over the summer, and I just wanted to follow up in a public forum about the number of exits from classrooms. After one of those school shootings, it became clear that students had been trapped inside a classroom. And I wrote suggesting, or with the question of, would it be possible as part of this renovation to create external exits from classrooms? And I think you answered something about disciplinary issues and students like leaving class for other reasons. And I just wanted to ask, while the experts are in the room, about the state of the art in security for students having more than one exit from a classroom.
Go ahead, Mike.
So one of the things, I mean, there is a security issue with having external doors from the classrooms, because on a daily basis, just students going in and out of that door, just kids decide to leave, kids decide to prop doors open. You're not sure who's going in and out throughout the entire school. But then also, that's also another way that a shooter could get into the building, is going through there. We have looked at, with this school, we are doing a new secure entry. So the actual vestibule, so the way the school is set up now, you go through a vestibule, go through a metal detector, and then, but you're already into the school. The new way we've done the layout, you'll come in during the day, outside of the normal hours of when students are coming in at the beginning of the day. You will go into the vestibule, and then you'll be buzzed into the main office. The main office will have visual access. It's being moved over to be directly adjacent to the vestibule. you'll be buzzed in from there into the main office. There you'll check in, and then you'll be buzzed into the rest of the school. The way the school is being set up, the public will have limited need to go into the rest of the school. We made a big move to move the Parks and Rec department out from the middle of the school over to the north side of the school. So they have a separate entry there. And even then, they're going to have to be buzzed into the rest of the school if they were to go in. We're also doing some other security features such as lockdown doors throughout the school. So now you have a system where it's the old system where there's the gates that come, or at your school, it's the gates that come across. We're replacing those with doors. So in the case of an emergency, being able to push the button and all those close, and that helps compartmentalize the building. Sorry.
One other prompt from your email. I talked to David Coyle, our associate principal in charge of safety and security. He worked with our school resource officer, and they found funding through a grant application for, I want to say combat pens, or basically they're the batons that can break out a window. So every teacher has one. They can punch out their window, clear the glass, and exit through a window now. That was something when you said a second entry or second exit. We didn't have something like that. David did some research with our SRO, Officer Myers, and they have issued one of those to each one of our teachers in their Go Pack, their backpack for emergency. So we can create a separate exit, a lot of window replacement if that's the case, but all kids are safe, right? So it was another option to have an emergency second exit to every classroom. All classrooms will have a window. The only one classroom that doesn't have a window right now will not be used as a classroom in the future. The second story becomes a little bit more challenging, but it is an option that to drop down to a lower roof or to go into a courtyard from that area. So we did, based on that, it prompted me to think of a way that we could create a second exit. So thank you.
Thank you. And so that those batons are already in place then?
Yep, every teacher has one in their emergency bag.
And they're trained on how to use it?
Yes, they are.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Great. Other questions? Oh,
Looking at your football field, tennis courts, concessions, building add-ons, soccer field, what's your timeline between now and to completion?
Go ahead. I was going to start with the athletic portion. Our school board approved at 5 o'clock today. They approved the athletic contracts. And so that contractor is finalizing permits, and they will start construction as early the next couple of weeks. They'll do some preliminary work for water mitigation, planning, and drainage systems, and then pause during the winter freeze and then come back at the thaw. Now, outdoor athletics anticipated completion is August 1st of this coming year. So within the next year, we will see outdoor athletics completed for home soccer, football, and tennis. And then the building build will start as early as spring. We're talking about spring break, possibly relocating some district office and doing some demolition. Major work in 2 summers, this summer and next summer. So fall of, fall of 24. I was going to say June and put some pressure on these guys, but August, September move in for start of school for fall of 24. So about an 18-month build cycle.
We're looking at January 20th, completing 100% CDs and submitting those for permit. And then there'll be the bidding process. And then as soon as that's done, then we can start construction. Right now with EUA, Findorf, Kurt, and the team have been, and the client have been going through and looking at different phasing for the project. It's a big school. There's going to be a lot of work happening during the summers, during spring breaks, and then also during while students are there. So trying to figure out the best way to, we talked about it, there's going to be some tough times as far as construction happening, but we're working with Findorf for what that phasing will be.
Commissioner.
Sorry, that just raised another question for me about the process. What's going to happen to traffic drop off and pickup is already pretty crowded? Can you talk about the construction, the impacts of construction on drop off and pickup?
I would rather have Findorf talk about that, but I mean, this is something that they do all the time as far as keeping the schools up and running while they're doing the construction.
So with construction traffic, we know that'll be an added component, and then a reminder that Jean Nicolay Road will be under construction for DOT. So there's been collaboration with Rattler Corporation, who's doing the large majority of the outdoor work, to build our construction phasing around and with DOT. The majority of our athletic facility will be done prior to Jean Nicolay Road construction. So it will literally be 2 consecutive years back to back, us and then DOT, I think, coming in after us. We do lose some parking spaces, but we're making adjustments for parking and how we can handle that with staff and students, limiting the number of parking spots potentially, and then either forcing more kids to carpool or bus, because we will be taking some spaces for construction work for storage and staging.
I've got a question on the diagram. It looks like there is, I'm assuming this is a courtyard that's being enclosed, but that wasn't discussed. There's another little orange square in the west corner of the building.
Yeah, sorry, there's an existing courtyard in the athletics in the A wing, and that's just a courtyard that's being infilled to provide a larger wrestling room and multi-purpose space.
Other questions? All right, so the recommendation from staff is that the Plan Commission grant approval for the site plan and architectural approval, basically everything that's been presented to us today, with 8 conditions. So I'd like to ask for a motion that we accept the staff recommendation.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Tory. Any further discussion from members of the commission? All right, I'll just say this is exciting. I look forward to seeing these things. I won't have a reason to come on a regular basis with no children left at school, but yeah, this looks really exciting. So, all right, all those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, thank you. All right, and the last item on our agenda is our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December the 6th. And would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cohen,
Seconded.
seconded by Commissioner Sean Story. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.